Good morning. Happy Friday. I hope everybody has a wonderful day today. Two comments I want to comment on. One is I've had an influx of comments from people who are like, who think that me saying what is me saying what ought to be. And you have to understand that my goal is to tell you what is, not what ought. What probably will be, not what probably should be. Don't confuse the two. My personal political opinions are different than if given my way, we would have a radically different system of government in the United States if it was up to me. We would have radically different laws in the United States if it was up to me on a variety of issues. What I'm doing is I'm telling you to my best ability what is, what legally is. When I look at the laws, I'm telling you what is, not what ought. It seems people confuse that because I get a lot of comments about what I want or how I'm this or that or whatever. I don't want Lane Meyer to go to jail. I've been prison. I've been very specific about that from the beginning. But when I look at his actions and I look at the law, the First Amendment and the Arizona statutes, both for civil harassment and criminal harassment, I believe the is that Lane Myers has violated those statutes. My understanding of what is backed up by what judges have ruled. Judges should rule. It's a human system, but if everything goes right, judges rule based on what the law is, not on what they think the law ought to be. So the judges so far have been ruling on what the law is to the best of their ability. And my understanding of the law, of what the law is, mirrors what they are saying, what the judges are saying. That's not what, I'm not saying what ought to be. And, I know I don't mean to be rude. But I know that a lot of people who are on the Lane Myers side of things may not be the most educated people in the world. They don't have the best understanding of the law and things like that, and maybe they have a hard time grasping some of these issues, and they seem to want real bright line basic rules, and that's not the way the law is, and that may be the way the law ought to be, but that's not the way the law is and ought. They're two different things. So that's thing number one. Thing number one is I'm telling you what I believe the law is, not what I believe the law ought to be. Number two is I've seen two comments now where people are suggesting to me that the prosecutor, or one of them said the prosecutor ought, or the prosecutor is scared. The other one said that they've been watching videos and seeing things where the prosecutor, or people are claiming the prosecutor is scared to go to trial on Lane Myers. That doesn't make any sense. Now, I don't watch other people's opinion videos. I like to formulate my own opinion, untainted by what other people think, because there's a lot of people out there who confuse the is with the ought, and they tell you what they believe things ought to be instead of what things are. So, I don't know exactly how people are arriving at this, but it doesn't make any sense to me, and I'm going to tell you why. Lane Myers ought to be concerned, apprehensive, fearful about his upcoming trial, if it goes to trial, because he has a lot to lose. He could gain his freedom, but he could also get convicted and sentenced and go to prison, like bad prison, not jail, but like prison, where lots of violence happens, sexual violence happens, murders happen. It's a very, from everything I understand, I've never experienced it, thank God, but it's not a happy place. And he should be apprehensive over that. That's a very bad outcome. In addition, he's facing fines and court costs. Maybe even victims restitution fund or something like that. California has a victims compensation board where people have to pay victims money. Like the defendant, if they lose, they have to pay the victims money. There are financial costs associated. In addition, he won't be able to be outside working, making money. He won't be able to have relations with his girlfriend. I mean, there's a lot of negative outcomes for Lane if he loses. If the prosecutor loses, there are no negative outcomes for her. Her pay doesn't change. She just continues doing her job as prosecutor. There's no negative outcome. She gets paid the same, win or lose. There's no negative outcomes. She's going to be protected by prosecutorial immunity from lawsuit, whether she wins or loses. I mean, unfortunately for Lane, because there's been probable cause hearings or grand jury indictments, the prosecutor's pretty shielded from prosecution from Lane. I don't know how he could get around prosecutorial immunity, even if he does want to sue her. She has zero liability out there. She has zero negative outcomes if he loses. But let's just assume that she wants to punish Lane. Let's assume that she doesn't think she could win at trial. I believe she does. I believe she has the better chance of winning. I mean, there's no certainties in the law. There's no certainties. Lane has a chance to win, but the odds are very low. She has a chance to lose. The odds are very low. Lane has a chance to win. She has a chance to lose. They're the same odds. Almost the same odds. There's also a chance that it's a hung jury or whatever in a retrial, etc. I mean, but you get my point. But if she wants to punish him, she could punish him with the process. He's currently incarcerated. He's in jail with no bond pending trial. So she can just keep everything going and go through trial. And if trial, I think they set the trial in like August. I think it was August that they set it, or for the first set of charges. I don't know how they're going to work in the second set of charges, because Homeboy's facing a lot of charges. He picked up, 6 new, 3 felonies and 3 misdemeanors. I mean, so she can keep him in jail all the way to and through trial. And how long is trial going to take? Well, I mean, subject to relevant objections. Well, I know actually she could let Lane play the entire videos. How many hours and hours and hours of videos is that? If she doesn't object and he wants to play them, even though it's not relevant and not necessary to play the entire video for context, I mean, she could let him burn hours and hours and days of trial and just run that thing out for weeks and weeks, which is bad for him because he's staying in prison. He's not getting to go out and work. He's not getting to do what he wants, when he wants, how he wants. There is, I believe, a heightened risk of harm in jail because you're surrounded by criminals, some of whom are violent. He doesn't get to have relations with his girlfriend. I mean, there's all sorts of negative consequences for him to remain in jail pending the outcome of the trial. So, there's nothing for her to lose. And I'm not saying she ought to do anything. I'm saying that there's no incentive for her to be scared. There's no reason for her to be apprehensive. And unless someone can present me with a good argument as to why she should be apprehensive, scared, fearful, whatever, then I'm going to go ahead and continue to believe that she's not, but Lane is. She has some economy of of throughput issues with wanting to get a settlement. It's easier, faster, it's more certain, but she's not scared. Anyway, that's all I got for you today. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.